Engines that are ultra reliable, never have to go into the shop unexpectedly, and cost you minimal for maintenance are clearly very important to people's pocketbooks, and it actually develops trust with time as manufacturers continually build these reliable vehicles. Guess what? I'm going to share a list of 5 of the most reliable, longest lasting, trustworthy engines and some of the vehicles you'll find them in. We'll also share out of 100 vehicles what that ratio of vehicle failure rate is actually like, and hopefully that helps offer up some of the great information you need to go out and make that next car purchase. Let's get into it now. Life's too short to drive boring cars. One of the longest lasting engines that can be found anywhere at any time, and actually has garnered a serious reputation for trust, reliability, durability, and long lasting. 300, 400, 500,000 miles is what's under the hood of this little rig here. What are we talking about? What is this? Well, this here is a Lexus product, as you can see by the logo, and it's an LS 460. There's other vehicles like the Toyota Crown, as well as this GX 460. Right here we have this SUV, and these vehicles are great. They have all of those same engines, the same traits. We have a UZ engine configuration, which essentially is from the series of V8 engines that Toyota and Lexus have been putting out for many years in many models, and it ranges anywhere from 4 liters up to 4.6 liters, as we're seeing right here. It is literally bulletproof, almost no issues, and you can expect these to run forever. As a matter of fact, you would anticipate these only to have 133 visits on average out of 100 vehicles to a service shop near you. And referring to CarEdge.com, they also anticipate the average Lexus GX like this in a 5-year time frame to only consume about $2,219 of your hard-earned income to keep this vehicle on the road. And yes, that includes the scheduled maintenance, typical wear and tear items, and breakdowns. Very easy to afford, very reliable, and they will keep the money in your pocket. The next very reliable and trustworthy engine can be found in several different models like RX 350, RC 350, the wonderful IS 350 as well as ES 350, and the Toyota Camry with the infamous 3.5 liter V6. It is absolutely reliable. There's lots of different models that I'm not even mentioning that carry that particular engine because it is just bulletproof. At about 130 visits out of 100, it's on the lower side of repairs and visits to the dealer, which makes it ultra reliable. In fact, the 2GR 3.5 liter V6 has been so reliable that it's been around the block for many years. There's only a few things that you have to think about. Maintenance is a little bit awkward when equipped in certain vehicles that actually have the motor mounted sideways. In other words, in a lot of Toyotas, where it's called a transversely mounted engine, where sometimes access to spark plugs and other components can be a little tricky. The other thing to think about is the high pressure VVTi lines have had an issue in some cases, as well as water pumps. Keep an eye out there for that stuff and you're good to go. So that 2GR engine is ruthlessly reliable, definitely should warrant some trust, and is guaranteed to run for almost ever because of its reliability. A very dependable engine that's guaranteed to last a long time. It's garnered some trust, and it's what's in this little hot rod here. Now, normally these cars aren't all that they're hyped up to be, and some of the transmissions aren't necessarily the best, but there's a certain drivetrain in certain models of this that are absolutely brutally reliable. As a matter of fact, 167 issues out of 100 vehicles is your average, which places it in a decent spot. It's fairly reliable and fairly long lasting. But the specific engine we're speaking of is the 4G63T. That's right, the turbo. There was a naturally aspirated version without the T that was quite reliable, and then they came out later with this turbocharging, and then as well they added on to that other technologies like variable valve timing. So a lot of that reliability is coming in the form of the specific engine, and you'll find that engine often in a lot of models like the different Evo or Evolution cars. Of course, you get the 7s, 8s, 9s, of course, they're the rally car special, as we all spoke of before. You're very well aware that a few short years ago, Mitsubishi, like this car, and Subaru were going neck and neck, toe to toe with rally performances. Of course, what we're looking at here has the funky taillights on here. Yeah, this is a base model, has a single little tailpipe there, basic little handles. When these things fail, they're cheap. Right there we have a sunroof. Of course, there we have a basic little mirror, and you get little cheap divots like that and some great little wheels on there. You'll notice the simple little headlights, cheap for maintenance and servicing. All the parts on this are low cost, cheap to own, cheap to operate, and that's the key. But with that said, you could expect almost $7,700 in a 10-year time frame for maintenance, services, and repairs based on CarEdge's assessment. And unfortunately, that's only because largely the transmissions have had some issues. There's been a few electrical gremlins with some of these vehicles, but generally speaking, the engines can be bulletproof, especially if you're buying cars like the Evo as mentioned. Also remember the wonderful Eagle Talon and the Mitsubishi Eclipse that had the 2-liter turbo engine, all shared this drivetrain, made it ultra reliable and easy to live with. It also tuned up to 450 horsepower safely without blowing its top. And one car manufacturer could never be accused of being reliable, durable, or long-lasting, but there is an exception. There's always an exception to every case, and it's this beautiful car behind me right here. So the glorious C5 and C6 Corvettes, back in 1997, Chevy created this more compact, all-aluminum V8 engine that made huge power. As a matter of fact, the kind of power that everybody else wants it. Have you ever heard of people doing LS swap engines? LS this, LS that? You take a car that's normally unreliable and then they go and throw one of those LS engines in there. That is the engine of choice. That's the engine that's going to keep Chevy on the map and would help their reliability in the long term. It also has huge tunability and it's just an amazing car altogether. So, of course, the LS engine is one of those specials that everybody loves. And these particular cars are ranked at about 162 out of 100 of them actually wind up having to go to the shop unexpectedly for some repairs. You're going to expect things like that. When you have a car that outputs this kind of performance all to the rear wheels, things can break. If you get abusive with that kind of power coming from the front end through a manual gearbox like we have in this car, then you have yourself a recipe for disaster. You can start breaking parts, axles, and all of the goodness. But this is an example of one of those cars that's definitely a keeper. Why? Well, it is a Corvette and it does have the traditional taillight assembly. We have quad tailpipes down at the bottom, and of course the bodywork is all made of composite, so it won't rust. It'll hold up very well through years of hard use. Of course, you do have the traditional pop-up headlights on here and wonderful chrome rims. And inside, as mentioned, this one here is one of the rare specials where you actually have a manual gearbox associated with it. Yes, you could pop that top and cruise in style. I mean, what's not to love about one of these cars when you also know that it won't rust, it won't rot, it has relative decent reliability, and that engine is definitely geared for long life. The LS V8 engine by Chevy and GM Buick is definitely a keeper and long lasting. And the next engine that we have total faith in that it's going to run till the end of time is this guy right here. We're talking about a Honda Civic, yes, but Honda's had some struggles in the last few years. And I want to explain why there's certain generations that are literally the longest lasting and other generations that aren't so long. But I'll tell you the exact model and engine that we're dealing with that you will get a long life out of. Now, first to note, of course, you're going to expect about 148 visits to the dealer unexpectedly out of 100, and primarily because of the bad engines that are associated with these and the transmissions, but we'll talk about that. So what we're looking at here is a Honda Civic. We're looking at a late model. This is a 2020 right here. Yeah, it's got gorgeous headlights and a wonderful beefy front grille. It looks very sporty. And of course, this one here is a coupe, so it looks gorgeous. It's got these big flares here, cycle down, beautiful little handles with one touch, and a big flare at the back. And look, we've got this big gobbledygook right here, and it looks great right there. It definitely has a pronunciation that speaks Civic all day long. Of course, we have these fake vents at the bottom and this splitter with a Lamborghini style rear tail finishing right there. Of course, we have these gorgeous laser cut rims, and then of course we do have a sunroof, and this contrast is gorgeous. We have the white pearl paint right here, and we put that up against the black roof with the sunroof. It looks amazing. But here's where it all gets real. What you'll notice there, we're dealing with a manual transmission, and that's what you want with these Hondas. The rest of the interior is well wearing and will last the test of time. And so that's a few things where Honda had some struggles was CVT transmissions in later years. If you stick with the manual gearbox like this and then opt away from the 1.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine, you'll get nothing but troubles with that engine because of the oil and fuel dilution issues. But what you want is the manual gearbox here, and you also want the 2-liter naturally aspirated engine that makes about 158 horsepower. It's way more than enough to get you around, and that engine with that combination and transmission will literally outlast the test of time. It's ruthlessly reliable, great on fuel, and when something breaks or wears out like a set of brakes, that you may actually have to change at one point here and there. That's only going to cost you a few $100 all the way around. This car is so cheap to live with, easy to maintain and service, even for the home do-it-yourselfer. And with the naturally aspirated vehicle, you don't have turbos to deal with, you don't have CVTs in the manual car, you literally just have a simple, old school analog driving experience that's both fun, economical, and long-lasting. And let's face it, Honda, just like Toyota, has garnered reputation of trust, primarily because of reliability. Their game in the Formula One, as well as they build a lot of small equipment like lawn mowers and all of the other bits that prove that they build a high quality part that's easy to start, runs reliably, and will last forever. The Honda Civic with the 2-liter manual gearbox combo. And with all of that said, right there, check it out, some of the maintenance tips you need to consider if you want to keep your vehicle running forever. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.